The following program may contain coarse language, violence, nudity, mature subject matter, or scenes which may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X Zone, everyone. The camera works when I touch the right button. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross this time-space continuum that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And we come to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern right here on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, and, of course, Channel 54 on Simul TV. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. These are strange days indeed, and I was producing a show earlier today called Mission Evolution with Gwilda Wiyaka, who is a regular on my show, as well as she has her own show on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and X-Zone TV channel. And she had Kathleen Marden on, who is best known as being the niece of Betty and Barney Hill. Remember that abduction scenario that happened, I believe it was in 1967, 1966, in New Hampshire after the Hills had visited Montreal. They were on their way home, and they claim that they were followed by a UFO. They claim later on that they were abducted. Gwilda had them on her show, had Kathleen on her show. Betty and Barney have since left, and I wonder if they are being reincarnated as aliens as we speak. But anyway, Gwilda had Kathleen Marden on her show, and she did a fantastic interview with her. In fact, why don't we bring Gwilda on? And hey, Gwilda, how are you, dear?
I'm good, Rob. How are you doing?
Good. So I see the extraterrestrials returned you from. No, that was Kathleen Marden, not you. And the part that was really interesting is you usually don't do alien UFO abduction interviews. Like, your interviews are earthbound, so to speak. What was it like interviewing Kathleen?
Well, it was really interesting because my knowledge of the UFO communities and all that stuff is like you say, I don't do this all the time or at all, and so it's a little bit limited. But I do know about spiritual stuff, and I also know what adds up and what doesn't. And it was very, very interesting to hear the story that she told of her aunt and uncle, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this might have flown in the 60s, but here we are in 2022, and you don't see people believing in, well, maybe you do, but she said that they were peering out of windows. They could see the aliens through windows in the side of the ship. Yeah. And that I'm going, they're not going to design a ship like that. This isn't adding up to me, So it was very interesting to hear the stories and to hear the different studies that had been done on it, and to see it from my point of view, the holes in it, and how, like we said towards the end, we still don't know what's going on here. And I didn't come out of it any wiser on the other side.
What really amazed me is I've been doing my show here for 33 years. I've had Kathleen Marden on the show a number of times with Stanton Friedman or by herself. And today was the first time that I had ever heard that she was an alien abductee.
Well, she
that
did
was
mention
the very first time.
Yeah, she did mention that she had pretty much kept it to herself, and then was coaxed into revealing because it would help other people. She did say that.
I found that very strange, to be honest with you. Mind you, a couple of months ago, I had sent an invitation to Kathleen to appear on the X Zone, and I was going to talk to her about the latest latest upheavals within the UFO community, especially since the government and other experts in the field were coming out publicly and saying that the fighter gun camera footage of the Tic Tac and other alleged UFOs that were filmed by the military had been identified and were known to be drones.
Oh, interesting.
And how the report issued by the Pentagon wasn't the smoking gun that everybody anticipated it to be. And I was also going to ask her about how come so many people within the UFO community are switching from aliens, UFOs, alien abductions to now the spiritual side.
Seriously.
Yeah, I couldn't understand the connection. And Kathleen told me that she was no longer investigating UFOs and alien abductions, and that she would have to pass on the interview. That's what I found really funny. And when I was listening to her interview with you, which, by the way, you did a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you.
And we're going to be, if you don't mind, I'd like to put a transcript of the interview up for anybody to download it, if that's okay with you.
Oh, that's perfectly fine.
Okay, great. And here we've got her talking that she was abducted by aliens. And I think she also mentioned that she was abducted with her mother and that they were able to channel a UFO to appear and land on on her grandmother's farm. Once again, I
Yes.
had never heard this before.
And she was 16 at the time. I can't even imagine someone exposing their daughter to that if they believed it.
Right. Well, I also remember her saying that she spoke to her aunt the next day after they had come back, and we were talking to, I would imagine it was her mother, Kathleen's mother, on the telephone about the experience that they had with
Yeah,
what
at
they
which point
believe.
she was
Yeah.
either 12 or 13.
As somebody from the outside, and this is where you come in looking at the phenomenon as somebody on the other side of the box. You're not in this, you're looking at the trees outside of the forest. What did you make of the story?
Well, looking at it from the lens that I would look at it from, um, it sounded pretty much like baloney. Not necessarily that she was telling me
Right.
baloney, but that she'd been fed some baloney. Okay, because it was all, back then it might have flown. The story might have flown, but in this day and age, there was holes all over it, and that is just not the way. If an alien were to appear, they would appear to us. It was the story and the way everything looked was based on their perceptions of what a UFO might look like at the time. I mean, what was it? What is the radio programs going on at that time even? But it certainly didn't reflect even the technology that we as humans on this planet carry today. So it's like, no, I just really, my gut level was that Betty and Barney were feeding her a line.
I can't understand why she kept on saying that as an investigator. What kind of training did she have? I don't believe she had any formal training as an investigator, except the courses that MUFON have. Then she was talking about the astronomical side, and she was very quick to point out that she was not an astronomer. Later on in the conversation, she was talking about these other people that were in the inner circle, if I can call it that, of MUFON, that were experts. Now, I'm paraphrasing here, Gwilda, correct me if I'm wrong. That there was one gentleman who was able to channel Mother Mary, but it wasn't the Mother Mary that we associate with Jesus. She had long blonde hair. Another person was able to channel orbs and
Call orbs in, actually.
Right. And I'm saying, my heavens, there's more people like her out there. It's scary. I often wonder what happened to these people where they have this belief that it is extraterrestrial. Is it something in their psyche that where something actually happened, but uh, they cannot face it? That how do you take it? Because I know that you've done a lot of work in psychology as well as the other aspects of the work that you do. So how do you take that?
Well, there's as many different reasons as there are different people.
Hmm.
But in some of the work that I've done, people have believed they were abducted at night by aliens as children, and come to find out it was easier to believe that than to think they were taken out of their bed and molested. So there is that. You're on to
Right.
something. I mean, we've run across a lot of that
Hmm.
in psychological things. I was working in a mental institution, and there was a lot of that there. Like I said to
Hmm.
her, it's like we see life through our own filters.
Right.
And so if we are looking at something that we can't explain, that's freaking us out, in this day and age, people will think of it as aliens. 100 years ago, 200 years ago, they would have been demons.
Hmm.
Today, they're UFOs. Back in biblical times, they were burning bushes.
Right.
But, anytime we see esoteric things that are not normally seen, we perceive things, and there's so much beyond what we can perceive with our five senses. I mean, science is starting to learn all sorts of stuff now that their
Right.
instrumentation has gotten more refined than we are.
Hmm.
But the way we interpret it is the issue. And I think a lot, now I can't say all, I don't know, but I think a lot of the alien sightings and the alien abductions are a perception versus an actuality.
I often wonder if it's just a way to get 5 minutes of fame.
I think
Mind
there's
you,
a lot of that too, yes.
mind you, in her case, it's many, many years of fame. But then the switch over where she had this epiphany in her office where this light and she got down on her knees and cried like, "Hmm, well, that's a switch from being abducted by aliens." You know, you know, I just can't buy into it. I really can't. It's as like I heard many things today during your interview that I haven't heard from her or about her before. And I don't know if it has something to do with the way the UFO community is looking at things because there is no proof to back any of their claims, or am I tainted and there is something there?
Well, just statistically speaking, okay, we're talking science, we're talking
Hmm.
stats, right? The likelihood of us being the only intelligent race, entities in the universe is zero,
Right.
But the way that the UFO community and the people that say they've been abducted and all of this stuff present a lot of it is more like somebody's metaphorical interpretation of an experience they had that they couldn't explain than what I would expect an actual alien contact to be like. Um, and who says they're physical like we are anyway?
Exactly. Who says they're a carbon-based unit?
Exactly.
There are
They
so
could
many
be.
variables.
There are. And, for hundreds and hundreds of years,
Hmm.
all the native peoples, and including the Celts, actually, believe that they came from the stars.
Right.
Okay. And the Hopi, they do the Kachina dances, but what they're doing is they dress in costume so that they can dance, go into a trance state, and channel what they believe are star beings. And this has gone on for eons. Okay. So is there real contact with the stars, with beings from the stars? I have no doubt.
Hmm.
But I don't think they're coming down as little gray men in flying saucers and snatching people up to check out their zippers.
The thing that I can't understand, she was also saying that she had been abducted a number of times, and I think you asked her, what the reasoning was, and she said something to measure the effects of what was it? The climate or something. And
Oh, yes, yes, yes,
yeah,
yes, yes. It was about because of all the nuclear activity that we've had to see
right.
how it's impacting us.
Right. Now, if these extraterrestrials are so smart and they can actually traverse space and time, why would they have to abduct somebody to find that information out?
No, this is another example of why I'm going, it's just not adding up.
Speaking about adding up, you and I have to take our first break, my dear friend. Exonation, Gwilda Wiyaka is our special guest. Two websites, www.missionevolution.org and www.findyourpathhome.com. We'll be back on the other side of this very short break. And the Exxon is being brought to you by our good friends at Beautiful Mind Coffee. Visit them, www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca. And we're back. Neither one of us were abducted by aliens.
I thought they were coming through that wall at us.
Well, you know what? I want to know why they do anal probes all the time. Once again, it makes no sense. If they're so smart, why do they need to do anal probes? Why do they have to keep mutilating cattle? Why don't they just one cow, clone it, and away you go? Makes no sense.
No.
Unless there's no McDonald's, Harvey's, Burger King, wherever they came from. Mind you, they don't take the good parts. They take the anus, they take the tongue, they take the lips. They are a weird bunch, those aliens are. All right, enough about aliens. Some of your what is the most popular topic on your show these days?
Boy, I cover a pretty wide range, but a lot of
Mhm.
people are really interested in kind of the leading edge medical stuff. And there is some very interesting stuff out there with when we're getting more into functional medicine. Doctors are really starting to expand on how the physical body works and how our view has been very segmented. And because it's segmented, we
Mhm.
don't get the big picture, and how the big picture is where the problems are hidden. Is in the interface of organs rather than the organs themselves. So that sort of thing has been very, very popular.
Something that I've learned watching your show is that there seems to be a blending of Eastern and Western medicine that the mind, body, spirit is being recognized more and more by Western medicine.
It is, and that's really fortunate because a lot of issues. Now they've done studies and have solid proof that
Mhm.
something as simple as meditation or yoga can drop your blood pressure, can clear up anxiety, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And the when we studied here in this country, when we studied medicine, we did it by looking at cadavers and taking them apart and looking at the parts. And
Something like the aliens do. Yeah.
exactly like the aliens do. But when you dissect a frog in a lab,
Mhm.
somehow it's lost some of its frogginess. You can put it back together, but it's just not the same, right?
Right.
And so, in so doing, we really missed the energy aspects of the living being. And the Eastern traditions work with the chakras and the electrical systems of the body,
Right.
and detect imbalances there. And that usually, if you can detect them there and treat them there, that's before they break out physically. So when you bring those two together, because Lord knows we have miracles in this country that have been performed by our modern medicine. But if you bring the two together,
Mhm.
we can do nothing but benefit as far as I'm concerned.
You said chakras, and that reminded me of your conversation where, once again, I had never heard people within the UFO community talking about chakras, and it was like, wow, they're kind of blending in a lot of things in order to try and make their UFO story float. Get it? UFO story float. By the way, what does frogginess mean?
It's what the essence that makes a frog a frog.
Oh, okay. Frogginess. I love that word.
Frogginess.
Hmm. Let's go down to the lab and do some frogginess. Excuse me,
No
are you?
probes allowed.
No froggies allowed. Um, you've also had some great doctors on. Michelle Rathbone was on a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, he was lovely.
Dr. Cole Baba
Hmm.
was
Hmm.
on, and how do we bring modern medicine closer? Like you're a precept, and you work with doctors. I understand that what you do is try to. I don't want to use the word educate, but familiarize themselves with Western medicine as well as the whole body spirit aspect. How do they accept it, or do they?
Well, it's amazing. Again, each to their gifts, each to their limitations. Some people
Hmm.
go, "Whoa, that's amazing." I was working with one doctor. She was, because they're on their residency, so they are MDs at this point when they come to me for the precept. And so I was giving her a demonstration of shamanic-based medical intuitive, and we were having a Zoom meeting, and I could only
Hmm.
see her from here up. And
Right.
I said, well, okay, with your permission, I'll just do a scan and see what pops out for me. And I was pointing this and pointing that. And well, there's some pain here and there's some, and she's going, yeah, 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 yeah. And then I went, whoa, what did you do to your ankle? She goes, how'd you see that? She had just sprained her ankle that day.
Oh my gosh.
And I picked up on it. And it was like she was just speechless after that. And I have a lot of doctors that I've worked with as a precept that come to me now, or certainly send people to me, but a lot of them actually come to me when they have something that they can't detect with the instrumentation and the tests. They'll have me do a medical intuitive, and then they'll put that information in the hopper with the test results. So it's pretty fascinating to bring it all together. So some of them are very responsive like that. Others look at me like, this poor woman really needs to get back on some meds.
Why did you use the word frogginess? Froggies. Another word for the Christmas party. There we go.
You're not going to show my bloopers again this year, are you?
Yep, we are.
Oh,
But
the
the nice part
humiliation of it all.
we have video ones now too.
I'll never forget.
Oh, I'm only kidding you. Where do you see the new age practitioner in the next, let's say, 5-10 years?
What I would like to see is it being regulated and reliable training required before they can hang out a shingle and work on people. That's what I would like to see. And I think that as the medical community embraces the more esoteric aspects, like the East coming to the West coming together, then that's going to be demanded, because nobody has any patience for somebody that's taken a weekend workshop and then say they can do spiritual healing. I wouldn't want a brain surgeon that had done a weekend workshop. Thank you very little. Okay.
No.
And it's the same. It's actually the same thing. There really needs to be regulation, and there needs to be people need to be held accountable, and they need to be well educated to make money working on other people. I don't care if it's esoteric or physical. And I think that it's going to have to move in that direction soon.
I'd like to see the same happen with psychics and mediums, because they can be very dangerous unknowingly with the best of intentions when dealing with people who come to them for answers. And a lot of people who go to the psychics as well as go to the mediums are suffering.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
go to-
desperate.
Right. You go to a
Mhm.
medium because you want the medium to connect with someone who is on the other side. When it comes to a psychic, you want them to help you solve a problem.
Mhm.
And a lot of the issues that psychics are faced with is love. Am I going to find Mr. or Mrs. Right? Well, yeah, you've got to get out of you've got to get out of your home. You've got to go looking, unless you want an affair with the pizza delivery guy or the FedEx man. You've got to get out
I've been
there.
eyeballing the UPS man myself.
I know Bigfoot's been telling me.
No,
But when it comes to regulations, how do we do that?
Well, the regulations have come into everything, and it's a mixed bag. It's a blessing and a curse, okay? Because sometimes the regulations cripple the field, absolutely cripple the field. Anytime you get regulations, you're going to get some crippling going on. But say, for instance, if we have, like you were talking about, a psychic,
Yeah.
these people are working with people's intimate lives, and yet they don't have any knowledge. A lot of them don't have any training in counseling. Okay. So, like, when I went to the Boulder College of Massage years and years ago, we had to take like pre-med biology and figure, where the muscles, we had to know them better than a doctor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we also had classes in ethics, confidentiality, counseling, how to approach people, what lies within our realm of expertise and where you don't go, okay,
Right.
what you're
Yeah.
trained for and what you're not.
hmm
I don't care what the field is, they can benefit from that knowledge and those kind of guidelines.
Yeah, and as well as the psychics and the mediums, I strongly believe that the people who go into other people's homes to exorcise ghosts, demons, and spirits, they are on the edge of pushing some people over that edge where they actually cause more harm than good.
Yes, and they
Yeah.
they believe what they're doing, but once again, it's all about the interpretation. Okay, you
Yeah.
can walk into a house if you're a sensitive person, and even the instrumentation will pick this up. And if the house has had a lot of negativity going on in it repeatedly over years,
hmm
okay, like family issues, family problems, fighting, abuse, it'll energetically show up. Okay, and that abuse causes fragmentation, so aspects of people are kind of hanging around as well.
Right.
But how is the person that goes in there looking for ghosts and demons going to take that? They're going to interpret it
Yeah.
according to their filters and make a story from what they see through their filters
hmm
versus what may really have been going on, and the people will take it and run. Um, Again, more training needed.
Stand by, Gwilda. We've got to take our break. And Gwilda Wiyaka is our guest, www.missionevolution.org and findyourpathhome.com. When we come back, Gwilda, I'd like to talk to you about a couple of the courses that you have available for the solstice. All right. Whatever you do, don't go away because you know what? We're going to be back unless we're abducted by aliens. So we're not here. You know why.
Keep your fingers crossed.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. My guest this hour is Gwilda Wiyaka, and let me see, where is Gwilda? Oh, there she is.
You
Tell
thought
us
I was
about-
abducted, right?
Well, you know what I was going to do? We were trying to get a snapshot of our studio without me in it, but we ran out of time. I'll have to do that next time. There you go. Tell us about some of the courses you've got up on findyourpathhome.com.
Well, the first one coming up is for the winter solstice,
Hmm.
and actually, the Christmas holiday and all of that was kind of moved um, because um, very likely Christ was not born in December, but it was moved to coincide with the pagan rites that they had at that time. And but the solstice is pretty interesting in the winter because it's the absolute darkest day of the year, and that coincides with doing shadow work, with going within. And
Hmm.
so much of our power, of our creativity, is in our shadow in places that we've denied and don't ever look. And that time of year is a wonderful time to access those. So I have a class coming up to teach people how to do ceremony at the solstice to help access the dark portions of our lives and bring them to the light so that we can heal them and have access to all the gifts they bring.
Can you give us an example of how we can celebrate the solstice and get these shadows working?
Yes, ritual is ceremony, same
Hmm.
difference. And anytime that you perform a ceremony, you're using that ceremony to focus your intention. And then if you do it in a group, which is I teach people how to make their own ceremonies and then how to bring a group together to do it, then you've just like the power of prayer, you've increased the ability. Okay, you've increased the focus and therefore the power of the work. And so you set your intention, which is
Hmm.
very very important, to say, okay, I have this thing going on in my life, and I know there's something in the shadow that's working that makes this keep happening to me, makes me keep bringing this into my life, and I'd really like to access that. So you write it down and set your intent for that, and then that's what you bring to the table, if you will, when you do the ceremony on the solstice. And there's
That's
different kinds of ceremonies. I don't appropriate ceremony from any indigenous culture. I use the principles that are worked into all ceremony from all cultures to build living ceremony for today, and that's part of what I teach.
what is the most important ceremony during the year?
I think they're all important,
Okay.
but the one that I just did, the one, the Fomorian work that happens on All Hallows Eve, which is a kind of a Celtic holiday,
Hmm.
is called Samhain. And what we do there is we go inward and find all the things that we have started to build and then decided against, but we haven't dismantled them. Because what happens is anytime you set your intent to do something, you're kind of making a matrix at the quantum level for your creation to form around. And your energy is bound up in that. Okay. And what we do is go, yeah, I don't want to do that. I thought
Right.
I did, but I really don't. But
Hmm.
when we just leave it, and so we have all of our energy, all these irons in a fire, and none of them getting hot. We literally, in the energetic level, have our energy tied up in something we're not pursuing anymore. So every year we do a ceremony to access those and free up the energy to plant it again in the spring.
So basically, clearing the luggage.
Mhm. Mhm.
Super.
Yeah.
What was it that started you on your path? Like little Gwilda Wiyaka who was going to school. What was it that did you always want to be involved in the work that you're doing, or what was it that triggered your quest?
Well, I had no idea the work that I'm doing existed. And I was born pretty sensitive. Some people are. Maybe they would have
Mhm.
even called me autistic. I don't know, but I'm certainly empathic. I pick up other people's feelings. And then I lived in a volatile situation, so I had to crank that ability up high so I'd know who to dodge and when, right?
Sure.
And but I didn't have a volume knob. And by the time I was in college, I was starting to fail. I was in fight or flight all the time because there's always stuff going on around you, and it's too
Yeah.
much information. If somebody's grumpy over there, I don't need to know it unless they're going to hit me. But I had no way of filtering it, and that's when I met my Lakota teacher. He was an elder, and there's a story behind that. I won't bore you with it this time. But anyway, he started teaching me shamanism, and I studied with him for 6 years until he crossed, and then I felt like that I had so much more to learn. And
Mhm.
so I started searching for other forms. I got Tibetan, Celtic, Arapaho, Navajo, Choctaw, everything I could get my hands on, and started finding that they all had a whole bunch in common, and they were very, very effective in the world in ways that I had no idea when I started, and that's how the journey started.
What is one of the commonalities out of all of these different, not rituals, but different tribes, if I can use that word?
Mhm.
What is the common thread?
There are more than you can shake a stick at, so to speak. But the one main thing is they all tend to use some form of repetitive sound or motion
Mm-hmm.
to enter what they call a shamanic trance or a journey trance or a trance-like state in order to access information and to do healing at the spiritual or quantum level. So they really are energy masters. They work at the energetic level of life.
It's truly fascinating.
Mm.
When you look back at the beginning of your journey, did you have any idea where that one step was going to lead you?
None whatsoever. I had no idea. None.
How has it changed your life?
Well, I have a life. I mean, I don't know how much longer I would have lasted the way I was, but it's changed the way I view everything, my
Mhm.
whole perception of reality. It's expanded me, and sometimes that's a challenge because I'm so expansive in what I see and what I
Right.
understand in that realm that it's kind of hard to interface. But it's I wouldn't trade it. It's given me so much, and so much peace, really, because when you understand that everything is connected and it all works in perfect synchronicity, it kind of takes a lot of the stress out of it.
The people who take your courses, how does what they learn change their lives?
Mm.
And what do you hear back from them?
I hear so many things, and again, it depends on what
Mhm.
they're looking for because this work really does work on your intent. And we might have hidden intents that goes back into the shadow work that work against us. Okay, so like, well, I want to do such and such, but I don't, secretly, I don't want to have to do the work to get there. Okay, I
Sure.
just want to learn how to wave the sage. I don't want to have to do the interior clearing and introspection that's required to clear the facility enough to
Mhm.
be involved in this work. So, but it changes people in so many absolutely profound ways that it's hard to even bring it down to a nutshell. But basically, self-awareness, self-empowerment, access to spiritual information, and that I can teach that in a day. How people can get more information upon which to base their choices in life, an understanding of the different layers and aspects of themselves in life. And once you have those kind of perceptions, it's kind of hard to get all caught up in narcissism. It's just when you realize how big everything is and what a small part of it you are, but what an important part. It just gives life some real solid meaning.
We're all part of that big, gigantic jigsaw puzzle, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Gwilda, stand by. We've got to take our final break. And Exo Nation, for more information about Gwilda Wiyaka, visit her two websites, missionevolution.org, where you can listen and watch past episodes of Mission Evolution. And then her other website, very interesting. Be prepared to spend a lot of time there as well as to learn at www.findyourpathhome.com. This is the X Zone, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada.
Beautiful Mind Coffee is delicious coffee your brain will love. Made with ethically sourced 100% Arabica coffee grown in the volcanic soil of the Tolima, Colombia region, Beautiful Mind Coffee is roasted and ground in small batches to ensure each bag contains a wonderful full-bodied artisan coffee. Beautiful Mind Coffee contains herbal ingredients to aid in boosting your daily mental clarity and focus. Maca root powder, green tea extract and American ginseng have all been selected for their ability to support good brain health. Taking care of your brain's health now can help delay or prevent the onset of cognitive dysfunction, including dementia, Alzheimer's, and more general memory loss as you get older just by enjoying the delicious flavor of our roasted coffee and herbal ingredients found exclusively in Beautiful Mind Coffee. For more information on Beautiful Mind Coffee, visit us online at www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca. Beautiful Mind Coffee is now available at amazon.ca.
And we're back. Gwilda Wiyaka is our guest. Gwilda, how do you celebrate Christmas way up in the mountains of Colorado?
Well, I start out by getting out my solar Christmas lights, and I string them up on my banister on my front porch, which goes off the sunroom.
Stay off of ladders. Don't get on ladders. No,
I
no
understand
ladders.
that's not a thing to do.
No, it's not.
Was that just last Christmas, or was that the one before? It was the one before,
2020.
wasn't it?
Yeah, 2020.
Oh, bless your heart. How are you doing with that now?
Well, so I've got good days and bad days, just like everybody else. But I stay away from ladders.
Yes, I bet you do. I hope you continue to.
every time I see a fire truck go by, I start shaking. Bad for my nerves.
PTSD.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So you've got the solar Christmas tree lights.
Yes, well, I'm off grid. So,
okay.
Yeah, so why not use the sun?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I have a couple of lanterns that I set out during the day, and then I can bring them inside at night, and they glow around wherever I want. But I don't usually put up a tree.
How come?
Well, I don't have any kids here or anything, and my cat would like to take it down.
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
I was listening to a radio show that was all about the Christmas tree, and I did not know that people in past days used to bring in certain trees into their house during the winter to remind them that come the spring, these trees the outside is going to be alive again. And I thought that was so cool.
Isn't that neat? Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't know that. Yeah.
It was really neat. Mind you, I've got a friend who kept his artificial Christmas tree up all year. At Christmas, he'd put Christmas ornaments. Let me see. I went to his house around Valentine's Day. He had hearts all over the place on his Christmas tree. St. Patrick's Day, shamrocks. Easter eggs. And we go through the entire year. And finally, when he found the love of his life, she said, the tree must go.
Along with the dust.
Yeah, that was dust. I thought it was artificial snow. As always, Gwilda, it's great having you with us here. And once again, congratulations on that great interview you did, not only with Kathleen Marden, but the interview you did with Dr. Michelle Rathbone. What's up next? He is.
Actually, I have a gentleman from France coming up next week, Olivier Claire. Olivier.
And what's his topic?
His topic is forgiveness. I think he comes at it from a very different angle, and there's some real hidden power in forgiveness. Absolutely.
That's an excellent idea, because I believe in today's society, so many people walk around with the luggage, like Jacob Marley. This is Christmas. Let's use an analogy of Christmas. When Jacob Marley comes to visit Scrooge, and he has all these locks that he's dragging along with him.
I
think a lot of that has to do with the forgiveness that he never gave himself in life. And I'm going to be very interested and looking forward to not only producing that show, but listening to it.
Well, there's two sides to forgiveness. I mean, we can either not forgive and be holding a grudge, or we can, tra la, think we've forgiven and we really haven't. We've just gone into denial, and it still plagues us as well. So I'll be very interested to see what he has to say on the topic.
I wonder how many times you say you forgive somebody and you just say it to suppress it, and you don't mean it. And then at the first opportunity, no, that's a bad word. At the first, help me out here, Gwilda. Trigger. All right. The first trigger, that false apology raises its nasty head again and again and again.
We see
It's
that
gotta
in
be
marriages a lot.
yes.
hmm Yeah, because of the long-term relationship. And boy, you got to stay on top of that stuff or it'll just erode any kind of a relationship.
Either that or drink a lot. I don't know if I told you this. I was the master of ceremonies at my mom and dad's 50th wedding anniversary. And my mother got up and I said, Mom, what do you attribute 50 years being married to Dad? She said, well, 2 words, son. I taught him 2 words. And I said, what was that, Mom? She said, to always say, yes, dear. Ha, 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 yay, Mom, right? Dad's turn. Dad, to what do you attribute 50 years of being married to Mom? He said, like your mother, son, 2 words. And I said, what are they, son, Dad? And he said, Jack Daniels.
How old is your dad now? He's getting up in years.
My dad, God bless him, is 95.
Wow.
And as you know, Mom passed 2 years ago.
I know.
And I don't like death. I really don't. And I don't know very many people who do. The passing of my mom didn't bother me that much because we were in COVID and so on. We couldn't leave and we couldn't get there. And Mom was very sick. We were kind of expecting it. But with Dad, you know, Dad and I have always had a very special relationship. One example was we always used to go sit outside on the front balcony after supper time and after all the homework was done and the chores were done. And that was my special time with Dad. And we lived in front of a river, and not very far was a train trestle because the train tracks were very close as well. And my dad, in his very prophetic way, said, you know what, son? I guess I'm about 12 or 13 at this point. He said, you know what, son? Just imagine yourself as facing issues, facing your life. He said, but fear not. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And I said, wow, that's really cool, Dad. Then he looked at me with all sincerity, said, but son, in your case, it'll probably be an oncoming train.
Oh, Lordy. Or a ladder.
Oh, ooh, my aching hips. My dear friend, it's time where you and I must say so long for tonight. I do thank you very much for coming on. Once again, congratulations on the interview with both Michelle and Kathleen. What are your final thoughts for the X-Zone Nation? Or as somebody I know would say, what is your mission?
Well, my mission is to open up our consciousness so that we can evolve as individuals and take better care of each other and the planet. Simple as that.
Keep the great work up, and I will be seeing you Tuesday as once again we do another edition of Mission Evolution. And X-Zone Nation, Gwilda's shows are available at www.missionevolution.org. And the Science of Magic show is available at www.xzbn.net. Until next we meet, my good friend, take care of yourself, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Rob.
I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break and a little break that we always take as we will continue with our next guest here in the X-Zone from our broadcast station, our broadcast center. Not a station, broadcast center in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go ahead.